Despite its, association with the popular Marvel franchise, Ant-Man and the Wasp failed to deliver an enjoyable and artistically cinematic experience. Instead, it provided audiences with a film that felt not even entertaining. I mean, I was pretty bored by this. I think the one thing you think of when you go to see this is you're like, yeah, Paul Rudd, it's Marvel, it should be fun. But I saw this and it was just really boring and really, hard to even care about any of the characters. It feels like a product of committee decision making. It lacked a singular artistic vision. So here we discuss Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, including its lack of world building, its character development, engaging storylines, and additionally how it suffers from poor visual effects, low stakes narrative, and underutilized characters. I personally think that Peyton Reed was always kind of the wrong choice to direct these movies. It's very clear to me that he is pretty much just like a puppet for Marvel to pull the strings of. I mean, it should be very evident to anyone who's seen any of these movies. They don't have any visual language of their own. They are incredibly anonymously styled. Like the direction in these movies is so vague and bland. I mean, the first two movies, I will say, I did find them fun to watch. I thought that Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2 were, cute movies. They really did have, they were fun, family, type stuff, but they weren't anything above that. So I think that the worst thing about this one is it, has worse world building than any of the others. And even worse, it takes away from the whole being small thing. Like, that's the reason we go to see Ant-Man. And I feel like they never used it to its advantage. But here, they're just like, making him in this world that isn't even a world, it's a pocket dimension. It feels like the quantum realm has always just been some shtick for them to talk about and be like, we'll get to that one day. Or, it's just like a kind of MacGuffin excuse. You could just say anything and they're like, the quantum realm. But that's what I didn't like about this film. I feel like it just feels so intangible and it's hard to get a grasp on this world. Even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which has some problems, like where Peter Quill takes his helmet off in space, like I felt that movie had way more of a tangible quality to it. They had to help get Rocket back because he was almost killed, and there's just something about that was more grounded. A movie like this was so much worse. So let's talk about that. I thought this, fell short of establishing a rich and immersive world for its characters to inhabit. The protagonist, Scott's daughter, Cassie, receives minimal development, is portrayed as a criminal before abruptly transforming into a genius who builds crucial machines for the plot. The lack of meaningful character arcs here and a proper introduction, leaves her feeling completely undeveloped and unlikable. I was not invested in her journey. I think that the trailers too prove this when Michelle Pfeiffer's like, wait, you're building a signal to the quantum realm? Like, we're just like, so she causes the movie's plot by being an idiot? Yeah. It just doesn't dedicate enough time to this world building. Like, in the first 10 minutes, we're sucked into the quantum realm. It doesn't feel like, we've earned even being down there. It feels like it's just an excuse to set up the Kang dynasty. I mean, I can imagine this was a boardroom and Kevin Feige was just sitting there like, what if we put Kang in there and make a whole movie and it'll be cute, Ant-Man small, Kang's gonna be the big thing. Like, that's honestly what they were hyping it as. And it just, as a movie, it's terrible. The visual aesthetic of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is terrible. It's unappealing. It's visually underwhelming. It relies heavily on CG that is unattractive and it's very artificial and it's not captivating. That finale where they all face off against Kang is particularly terrible looking. It just doesn't feel like there's any stakes in this that are, you know, incredible or high stakes. The faceless creatures and, widely mocked CG head MODOK were the worst. I even forgot about MODOK. That's how bad it was. Like, they even make one of their, penultimate Marvelisms, like, don't be a dick. I hated that. Like, they have the villain get his redeeming moment by, like, jumping at the bad guys. We're all just faceless aliens, by the way. They're not even, like, bad guys. And it's this giant head, Corey Stoll's head, and he's just like, I am not a dick. And it felt like you were watching, like, I don't know, a Rick and Morty episode, honestly, a really bad one. And that's funny because I was just going to say this was written by a Rick and Morty writer, which honestly makes sense. I was just thinking of it because of how, like, low stakes the humor is. Even Rick and Morty, though, as much as I, dislike as that show went on because it just seemed to be, like, very repetitive, rinse and repeat, weird, different world, I feel like, at least that one had very sharp humor. This doesn't have any humor. That had a very interesting, character designs or worlds they went to. This has none of that. It just is so bad. And I even feel that, despite the fact that this is titled Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it underutilizes the Wasp totally. I mean, That's literally just because they're like, we can't leave her out, and then we had her in the second one. They could have had her in it, but she barely does anything. She's just a passenger in the story. So is Paul Rudd. He's also a passenger in his own story. Just, watching as people explain things to him. Most of the movie is Michelle Pfeiffer explaining how she like almost like got with Jonathan Majors. It's very confusing. And also, I thought the ending of this movie was incredibly strange. It feels totally reshot, the same way the Flash ending felt like a reshoot where it ends and it's like a joke, and you're just like, is that an ending? And it feels like they didn't know how to end it, so they just reshot it. The ending of this film was absolutely terrible, though. Like, I remember it ended, and I was like, what the fuck? It just felt like they had ended on a joke that no one had really like cared to even ask in the first place, and yeah, it sucked. So that's what I thought of Ant-Man 3. Let me know what you guys think of Ant-Man 3 if you even watched it. I bet people did because it's Marvel, but I mean, hey, we all saw it. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.